Yo, what's up, everyone? It's your boy, Jack OATz to go. You either know or you don't. First and foremost, as always, thank you guys for supporting the channel and your boy. Appreciate you guys tuning into this stuff, even when it gets out of hand, out of control, as it normally does. So, today I wanted to talk about the possibility of who really made the physical universe in this series. I would like you guys to listen to the next 6 seconds before you skip through. You will have to watch this video all the way through or not at all, or you will be offended. The topic today is really to talk about something very profound I came across during some reading that could possibly pertain to the Black Clover universe. I ultimately could be wrong, as I usually am, but these are really cool and fun things to think about. So right or wrong, I hope you guys appreciate the in-depth look into some of these things Tabata is giving us in the series. I do want to preface this with a sentiment, though. As we get deeper into this stuff, I want to stress that in no way is my objective to bash any religion or philosophy. One of the things I will always stand by is allowing room for others to live their own personal life the way they see they see fit. As long as it doesn't hinder others from doing the same, I'm fine with it. I pride myself in having a pretty open mind, and for those that follow me on Twitter, you will rarely see me argue with someone, but when you do, it is probably 100% chance that that person was not letting me or others live their life free from needless scrutiny. It is absolutely okay to not agree with anything that I said. I'm in this for fun and to also provide some information that is actually interesting and does actually hold weight in the real world. So let's get into this. Since the dawn of man, humans have been trying to make sense of the world. The biggest and most profound question will always be, until answered of course, who made us and why? Just a slight background on myself. I went to a Christian school for the first 2 years of my life, school life. And I was raised as a Christian by my father, and my mother raised me to not necessarily follow religion, but to follow my heart, and she did her best to make sure that my heart was filled with as much good intent as possible, with the freedom to choose my own path. One thing I will always remember is going to my first school assembly in kindergarten. This is where I was introduced for the first time why Satan was cast out of the Garden of Eden and from heaven ultimately, and sent to hell for eternity. We were told that Satan tempted Eve to eat the apple. Me as a child could see that, yes, while Satan did tell her to do something she was explicitly told not to do, she had just as much freedom not to do it as she had to carry on with it. So whose fault was it really? The option was always there, but Satan brought the question to light via his words and made the option a physical possibility for her. After a few minutes of careful toddler thought, I raised my hand and asked, what if Satan wasn't a bad guy? In those exact words, and I was literally snatched up by my arm and hauled off to the principal's office. They called my dad. He took me to the empty office room, and he whooped my ass right then and there. Like, kind of funny, honestly, but also very sad and ironic that a question from a child completely disrupted their philosophy and the process behind it so much that it was silenced and met with violence. I say that to say Satan's agenda has been in question since the rise of humans. He is viewed as good, he's viewed as evil, and sometimes even both. In any case, he's always been viewed as a necessary force. One of the main thoughts I had while growing up was, why would God create imperfect things to begin with? Why do so many awful things happen every day? I personally was taught that God is perfect and benevolent, yet atrocities happen all over the world, all over the course of time. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to bash any religions or philosophies. This is just my personal experience and thoughts before I get into some of the other stuff. But I ended up abandoning organized religion altogether because I couldn't sign off on worshiping a God that allowed people to experience hurt every day. Funny thing is, I've always loved the idea of Jesus as well as Lucifer. I love that there was a man who shouldered all the pain of the world so that everyone else could prosper. Then I also liked the idea of a being that saw the value in freedom and actively celebrated it. Fast forward to my second semester in college. I hit my first philosophy class. It was an undergrad requirement. The class was just packed. There were no seats at all. People were trying to crash the course. For those of you that don't know what that means, it's like when you enroll in a course and the seats are actually full, what you can do is just go to the class physically and drop in and see if anyone drops that day, you'll be put on like this waiting list, and first come first serve. So the earlier you get there, the better chance you have of getting a seat while you're crashing. So like I said, people were trying to crash that course. The bell rings, and the teacher stands up. The first thing out of his mouth was, if you value your religion and can't accept that they are all flawed and do not want to hear the truth about why you shouldn't be following them as dogmatically as you are, then you need to leave. And I STG, more than half the class was gone, like within the second. And I took a seat right in front because this dude caught all the attention I didn't give my teachers my entire school year, honestly. So it was in this class that I learned that this man had literally studied every popular religion in and out. Not only that, but this man was part of the team to work on the idea of the string theory and other theories pertaining to the universe and its creation. Long story short, he got rid of those people not because he hates religion, but because people that don't have an open mind and are too married to an idea are clouded by bias and can't thoughtfully carry on a discussion in philosophy. By the end of the semester, I had gained a brand new connection to myself and the universe. I had always felt there was a higher power personally, but I decided to make the higher power all of us. So what I mean by that is I went back to the theorized beginning of everything, before the Big Bang. The thought behind string theory, to kind of go back a little bit, is that the universe has a frequency. Before the Big Bang, it was at a steady frequency, but then something happened where there was a spike and it caused this universe to be created. The idea is to not only find out how this spike occurred, but how we could predict it when and if it would happen again. And these are things that I actually stayed after class on multiple occasions talking to my professor about this. He was the conversations were just mind-blowing all the time, and to be honest, at the time I probably didn't get most of what he was saying, but it was just so interesting to listen to him. But anyway, I had made a crackhead theory that before this, there was a singular consciousness that existed. Not necessarily man or woman, but one universally large glob of condensed thought. And throughout the ugly and beautiful things that happen in the entire universe, creation, destruction, and anything in between, there was still ultimately beauty in this. See, imagine being a conscious entity, but you're all alone in just some void. You may be vast, powerful, and all-knowing, but to what end? To just be alone? In introspective thought, I felt that I would personally spread myself out if I couldn't just outright create other things. That means the collected thoughts become dispersed and individualized, giving us reason for very different personalities, but somehow similar ideologies among each other. In the end, I proposed that we were all, in fact, all God in dispersed form. Now, little did I know, there were already philosophies out there that essentially confirmed this thought, and I did not recognize it until I read Black Clover and started doing these videos. Some philosophies suggest what's called the demiurge. Now, this is the title the creator takes. However, this term essentially means that this being is temporary. As we kind of talk about in the video where I present that Asta could be the Aeon of Horus, there are different Aeons. I believe there's 13, maybe more. I forget. There's different ones because there were different gods that ruled over the happenings in the universe, and they ruled over them differently. Some leaning more toward good, some toward evil, and some in between. Some philosophies, one that comes to me off the top of my head is the Rosicrucians from the Order of the Rosy Cross. They believe that the demiurge was a child god. This gave them reason as to why there existed evils alongside the good. It gave rise to the thought of an imperfect God, almost like we see with Julius now, actually. I found it interesting, but one I found slightly more interesting is what I found when researching the halls of Amenti. This is also something I go over when I talk about is the Chosen One. So it suggested that it is possible the Demiurge is actually the highest archon. And for those that missed the video, archon is the same as demons, pretty much. However, in some philosophies, when you see the word archon, it's more like a defender. But you just go watch the video, you'll understand. So, not just any archon ruling, but Lucifer himself. In this philosophy, they believe Lucifer to be only evil. But in most of the philosophies that deal with the Tree of Life, the concept is the same. The archons have reign over the physical realm. It's to act as an illusion to hinder souls from ascending and reaching the point of coming back to the true creator, or that singular consciousness I was talking about a little while ago. If we notice how Lilith and Nama had the ultimate destructive capabilities of two basic elements, this kind of strengthens the thought of this philosophy. On top of all of that, think about things we both consciously and subconsciously live by day to day, second to second. Space is here for us to exist in. Time is something we follow, well, literally all the time. And gravity holds all these things in place. You can kind of say the same for space. It gets a little weird and vague, but you get the point. Now, with this, we also have one more element that none of these things can function without, and that thing is Aether. Now remember, I'm not ever going to talk about Aether in depth again because I already did 2 videos for that, so go back if you missed it. Anyway, we have to remember in Greek lore, Lucifer is actually related to directly to Aether. Whether sometimes they will say Lucifer by name, or they will say Phosphorus, which is the equivalent, the Greek equivalent to Lucifer. Now, without Aether, nothing can thrive. Aether is both physical and not physical. What makes this an interesting concept is that angels that rule over the Tree of Life or the Sephiroth rule over spiritual ideas and thoughts. Everything abstract and internal lies there. Lucifer, having used to be one of the archangels, would logically, to me, have a similar power. This gives way for the possibility for characters like and possibly Liebe to be Lucifer in physical form to further extend his reach. Now, I'm kind of Tarantinoing this a bit. What that means for you youngins is he's a director. He starts from the end in the beginning, and then he plays the movie out. So you kind of like how we see in Boruto, where you see Boruto and Kawaki both grown and fighting. So they started there, and then the series actually started after that. So you're wondering, like, how did they get to that point? So that's what I mean. But in Crowley's philosophy, which closely corresponds to Egyptian and Kabbalistic lore, the demiurge, every aeon, will try to extend its reach to the physical realm, oftentimes failing, but every so often succeeding. And this is where we get characters like Jesus. And for those that didn't quite make the connection, to what we're talking about here is that Jesus is he's the entire journey of man. He starts at Malkuth, which is the direct reflection of God in its most physical form, and he took the journey all the way through to Dot, which is the abyss, and came back as Keter. That's only if the creator meant well in his intentions. That's how you get a guy like that. And we talk about a character named Sophia in the Epistus Sophia. So go back, watch those if you missed it. So let's theorize for a bit here as we're closing in on this. For a long time, I've been saying Liebe was the son of Licht, and who knows, that could actually still be the case. But here's another possibility. I kind of gone this route when talking about Liebe dying 9 times before getting chucked out of the Clipot. Watch that if you haven't. Still interesting. But let's say Liebe is our demiurge. He checks off both of the philosophies I went over. His power is more etheric, just in a negative sense, a negative aether. And he was a child in the underworld, which would go back to having this child god, as the Rosicrucians believed. Liu could be the true king, and his extension is Asta and or Yuna. By living through Asta, he can see both the beauties and the ugly the world has to offer. This can turn out either really good or really bad, in the sense that he can realize that he actually has the ultimate say-so as to what happens in the world. Whether he can allow them to live as they are or destroy it all. In very plain terms, I'm saying the ranking of the last devils from lowest rank to highest, and this is in regards of the last 3 clips, is Lucifera, Belial Beelzebub, and Liu, and possibly what would be his brother in my theory as the other twin god. If you missed that video where I talked about that, go watch that, because I feel like that might happen still. I feel as though it could make sense, because Xenon's devil, who I think is Belial / Beelzebub, is not only in the clipbot and has 2 duties within it, but he's also the second veil before Satan. And in some philosophies, it's actually the second abyss before Samael. Some philosophies actually have Samael as like the big bad, but that's that's only 2. If I'm probably getting that number kind of right, actually. But just so you guys know, that is another way of looking at this. So this means that he knows what is beyond the tree of death, which is emptiness, darkness, and chaos. His realm is between darkness and chaos, which is emptiness. Belial may be hidden not only because he is the highest ranking devil in this triad right now, but also for the possibility that he may in fact know who Liu actually is, which could be why Xenon targeted Asta on a hunch. Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised to find that we will have 2 other devils with the last 2 basic elements in their most violent, corrupt forms, as one could be responsible for creating the earth itself, and the other the air they breathe, and none could exist without the 3 infernal kings of hell, which are Osroth, which we're just deducting that would be time, Lucifero with gravity, and Belial Beelzebub with space, and then Liu having aether, for them all to be able to exist at once and at all. So that's kind of where my head is. I feel like it is very possible that the physical world is completely created, and I won't say run by demons, because of course they've been sealed away, but they do have some very physical hold to keep humans within their grasp and to prevent them from ascending and whatnot. But yeah, sorry, I had some things going through my mind as I was saying all that. I just wanted to make sure I got straight to the point. But I think I can just leave it there for now, guys. That's pretty much what I talk to you about. I mean, we're truly reading peak right now. It's a very deep series with some very profound concepts behind it all. But anyway, if you stuck around this long, you are part of the GOAT Squad. So just leave the hashtag GOAT Squad and your favorite magic type in the comment section below with any other comment that you might have, so I know that you made it this far. With that, I will see you guys in the next video. This has been Jack OATz to GOAT. You either know or you don't.